All right, welcome. Welcome to day 12 in the whiskey calendar, and we're back to Scotch, which is all good things. Now, that's from my friend Ryan All's house, who, if you're watching this video, taught me, used to be his habit to go, presents. This was Ryan's habit. If you ever hung out with Ryan, presents. So that's sort of made it into our entire family lexicon. Anytime I'm excited about something, you'll see me go, interesting. All right, so now this is Tomatin. This is actually pronounced Tomatin. Tomatin. It's a Highland Scotch single malt from Inverness, and it's just outside the edge of what most people would probably consider to be the Speyside district. And I think I've often mistaken it for a Speyside whiskey. It probably could be clarified, but they label themselves Highland. Now, keep in mind, in single malt Scotch, remember, a Speyside whiskey is a Highland whiskey in much the same way that Texas is in the United States. So why would someone label themselves Highland and some label themselves Speyside when they're both, neighbors? Like, for example, McAllen labels itself Highland, but it's in the Speyside district. Why is that? Marketing. It is strictly a marketing choice. More people know what Highland is than Speyside. That's all. So, looking forward to this one. Tomatin makes good whiskey. I haven't... Whoa. Okay, so you didn't see what I just saw. But for a split second, this whiskey looked almost purple tinged. I wonder if you can see that in the... see if we can get a mild close-up. I'll try to keep it where we're in focus here. So there's sort of this... So it's finished for 1 year in port casks. And maybe that's coloring my perception, and I'm seeing it even when it's not really there. But it feels like there is sort of a red wine tinge or a dark purple tinge to this barrel aging, especially when I poured it and the light went through it as I poured it. Oh, man. Man, that is sweet smelling. I would swear that this was a Speyside whiskey. I wonder if Tomatin classifies falling into the Speyside district. I should have looked at it more closely on a map. One of the things I always find in a Speyside whiskey is it presents really dramatically up front with butterscotch notes instead of caramel vanilla. Just straight up really heavy caramel butterscotch nose. Now this one, there is a wine in the background. Now remember, if your mouth is open, you'll lose some of the vapors can pass through. If your mouth is closed, you're going to build up vapors in your nose and your sinus cavity. So if you really want to smell the alcohol, keep your mouth shut. If you want to smell the actual whiskey, open your mouth when you're smelling. It'll pass some of the vapors through and let you get what's behind it. Huh. Whoa. Yeah, not my favorite because it's practically invisible. I took that sip and it was basically over before I had the chance to think about it. It's 14 years old, so it's very smooth, very buttery, and that port gives it that slight tinge of tangy sweetness, dessert wine sweetness at the end. Now this is interesting because I peeked ahead, so I know what we're drinking tomorrow. And I would not be surprised if people categorize this one and tomorrow's in very much the similar flavor profile. I'm thinking I may save what's left of this instead of sharing it and compare it to tomorrow's, which I won't give it away, but tomorrow's whiskey, and see what they taste like side by side. So that's the best. By the way, if you ever want to start to grow and learn how to make flavor judgments, remember that your brain is a pattern recognition machine. And so all you're doing when you try things and smell things is creating patterns that your brain can then recognize in the future. And the only way for that pattern to be truly established is if you think about it and focus on it and really kind of ingrain it. And one of the fastest ways to clarify something is to compare it to something. We are, as humans, very bad at making standalone value judgments about things. We're just not good at it. If you give us any one thing like a ring and you say, what do you think that's worth? Right? Our brain is just not built for coming up with a valid statement after that. We just don't make good value judgments. What our brain does best is comparisons. And so you can say, which one of these rings you think is more expensive? Now you're in the wheelhouse of what humans prefer. So one of the easiest ways to develop patterns, or at least I should say, if you just taste a whiskey and then try to guess what's in it, you have to have a lot of history of drinking whiskey in order to pull that out of your brain. If you're new to it, you don't have a lot of patterns, one of the fastest things to do is pick another whiskey that you think might fall into the same category and compare them side by side. And immediately your brain will start going, oh, here's how they're different. And that will give you ways to clarify what you're actually drinking. So that's kind of a fun thing to try out. And it'll help you build your palate and build your historical patterns for tasting in the future. So I'm going to add a little water to this one and just see what happens. I'm hoping I'll make it a little more dramatic because it's so smooth. I get bored, but remember my favorite whiskeys are Speyside and Islay and kind of smoky, aggressive whiskeys. So not surprising that a really sweet, pretty Speyside is not gonna be my favorite. That got better. That released some of the smoke in there. Some of the, yeah, that's good. That got way better. So if you lean towards more complicated Highland whiskeys or smoky whiskeys and you want to try this one and really enjoy it, I would recommend adding a few drops of water. It's going to be more up your alley. So thanks, Toman. Thanks, Master of Malt. I will see you guys tomorrow.